Welcome back guys. So this is going to be the review of Mi 10i. I have been using this device for about a month now. I have been regularly uploading gameplay videos, but now it's time to drop the review. This device is highly reminiscent of Redmi Note 9 Pro and Poco X3. Now I have Redmi Note 9 Pro and I will be comparing this device with Redmi Note 9 Pro. This device is known by different names depending on the country. In China it is known as Redmi Note 9 Pro 5G. In UK, it is known as Mi10T Lite. There are some small variations. For example, in Mi10T Lite, the device supports NFC, but in the Indian variant, there is no NFC. So let's just go over the specs. Before that, let me just show you the SAR value for the Indian variant. For the head part, it is 0.867 watt per kg, and for the body part, it is 0.825 watt per kg. So the device has Qualcomm Snapdragon 750G processor. It's based on 8 nanometer fabrication. The processor is coupled with Adreno 619 GPU. Now this is the main highlight of this device, 108 megapixel AI rear camera with EIS. It's Samsung's HM2 sensor with an aperture size of f1.8. On the rear side, it also has 3 more camera sensors, an 8 megapixel ultra wide lens with an aperture size of f2.2, a 2 megapixel depth sensor with an aperture size of f2.4, and lastly a 2 megapixel macro sensor with an aperture size of f2.4. On the front we have a 16 megapixel sensor with an aperture size of f2.5. The phone comes with an IPS LCD screen measuring 6.6 inches diagonally. It has a full HD plus dot display. Now this display supports up to 120Hz refresh rate. It comes with adaptive sync technology. With adaptive sync, it offers finer control over the refresh rate than usual, offering steps like 30, 48, 50, 60, 90 and 120Hz. Basically, the refresh rate will adjust depending on the content. For example, if I am watching a YouTube video that is running at 30 fps, the refresh rate by itself will change from 120Hz to 30Hz. This will help in conserving the battery. I'll be showing you this in the later part of the video. The battery capacity is around 4820 mAh. The device comes with a 33 watt fast charger. That's good to see. Lately some OEMs are completely removing the charger from the box. Now I have the 6GB RAM and 128GB ROM variant. This variant uses UFS 2.2 storage. Theoretically it is faster than UFS 2.1. In the 128GB ROM variant, you will be getting around 102GB of free space out of the box. 6GB of RAM used is of LPDDR4X variant. The phone comes with a stereo speaker setup. The display has a TUV Rhineland low blue light certification. Blue light can be harmful for our eyes. It affects our sleeping pattern. Good to see the device keeps it in check. Next, it has a 360-degree ambient light sensor. Comes with a Gorilla Glass 5 protection on both front and back side. It also has an IR blaster. That's good to see. Using the device, we can control our television, AC, etc. And the last feature is an ultra responsive Z-axis haptic motor. I'll talk about the haptics in the later part of the video. So now let's just start with the unboxing. This is the Pacific Sunrise color variant of the device. It's already opened. We have the SIM card ejector tool, manual, a silicone case is provided. There's the device, Pacific Sunrise color. I'll just put it aside for the time being. Then we have the cable and the charger. Let me show you them. A type A to type C cable. You can see the orange accent. And this is the 33 watt fast charger. Let me show you the output reading. 5 volt 3 ampere, 9 volt 3 ampere, 12 volt 2.25 ampere, 20 volt 1.35 ampere, and lastly 11 volt 3 ampere max. That's it with the box contents. So this is the device. The device comes with a pre-applied screen guard. That's good to see. The device also has a notification LED. It is hidden in the upper speaker grill. It only supports white color. It has support for dual band Wi-Fi, dual band A GPS, GLONASS, PDS, Galileo. The Indian variant also supports FM radio, but you need to connect the headphones in order to get it working. Moving on to its dimensions, the length of the device is around 165 mm. Its breadth is around 77 mm and its thickness is around 9 mm. The device weighs around 215 grams. In my opinion, they did a good job of distributing the weight evenly. The phone feels solid in the hand. It has a plastic frame with matte finish. This particular color variant of the device is not a fingerprint magnet. I'll directly compare it with Redmi Note 9 Pro. You can see this blue color variant of the device is a fingerprint magnet. Now you can easily see the fingerprints. But this variant of Mi 10i does a good job of resisting the fingerprints. As you can see from the front, both Mi 10i and Redmi Note 9 Pro are roughly identical. On the left side I have Mi 10i and on the right side I have Redmi Note 9 Pro. Check out the camera module protrusion. Considering Mi 10i has an 108 megapixel camera sensor, Xiaomi did a decent job of keeping the protrusion to the normal level. The device does not wobble a lot when placed on a flat surface. Mi 10i uses a circular camera module as opposed to the square camera module used on Redmi Note 9 Pro. Mi 10i also has a dual tone LED. And I forgot to mention that the device supports 5G. The thing is guys, I am from India and as of now there is no 5G network available here. So as of now 5G is as good as useless. Now I'll talk about the buttons and ports. On the right side we have this volume rocker. This is the recessed power button which doubles as a fingerprint scanner. Both the volume rocker and the power button has a clicky feedback. The fingerprint sensor is very responsive. Let me show you that. At the bottom we have the speaker, mic, Type-C port, 3.5mm jack. The Type-C port has a USB 2.0 interface. On the left side we have the SIM card tray. It's a hybrid SIM card tray. We can add 2 SIM cards or add 1 SIM card and a memory card. Let me just show you the tray. You can see I have already inserted a SIM card and a memory card. On the top we have the IR sensor, another mic. Regarding the signal reception, I had no problems with it. I am using Idea 4G network. There were no issues of call dropping. Call quality is also decent. I could easily hear the caller's voice loud and clear via the upper speaker grill. Let me show you the About Phone section of the device. You can see it is running on MIUI Global Stable version 12.0.4. The Android security patch level is for the month of December 2020. The device should be getting Android 11 soon. Now moving on to the display section. The IPS LCD screen of Mi 10i is of very good quality, I have to say. Colors are mostly accurate. It supports HDR10 as well. In the display settings, you can switch from light mode or dark mode. I'll switch to dark mode, you can see. You can also enable the reading mode from here. Reading mode adjusts colors and textures of the items on your screen, allowing your eyes to relax. And as usual, we have the setting to adjust the color scheme. Just tap on it. You can see I'm using the auto setting by default. I found the colors decent with this setting, but you have the ability to change them to saturated, standard. The color tone drastically changed. I'll go back to auto. We also have the ability to change the color temperature. I'm using the default color temperature. You can change it to warm, cool, or simply customize it. The colors don't fade even when we observe the display panel from corners. The contrast is also decent. Now the blacks are not as deep as AMOLED panel, but for an IPS LCD panel they are decent. Then we have the setting to change the refresh rate. We can switch between 60Hz and 120Hz. Now we can use an inbuilt MIUI app to show the real-time refresh rate and FPS. I'll be showing you how to enable it. To enable the app, we need to enable the developer options. By default, they are hidden. So first go to About Phone. Here continuously tap on MIUI version. You need to tap it for about 7 to 8 times. Then you'll see a message here. You are a developer. You can see it showing here. No need, you are already a developer. Go back to settings, scroll down and then go to additional settings. Here just scroll down and tap on developer options. Now just scroll down. Under the monitoring section, tap on power monitor and then under frame rate monitor tools, tap on start. So you can see here guys, refresh rate, FPS and the screen resolution is shown. I have set the phone's refresh rate to 120 Hz. Now I'll just open a YouTube video. So now I'll just play a 30 FPS video. So you can see the refresh rate changed from 120 Hz to 30 Hz and FPS is around 30 FPS. Now I'll just set the video quality to 60 FPS. Now the refresh rate should be changing. Yeah, 60 Hz. So the adaptive sync display works very nicely. The refresh rate will change depending on the content. You can also use this useful app when you are playing games. This display has a touch sampling rate of 240 Hz. It's very responsive, I have to say. Coming back to the display settings. In the hand we have full screen display. From here we can switch between the gesture mode and the navigational bar. I am using the gesture mode. To go back we just need to swipe along the edge. To go back to the home screen we need to swipe from the bottom. To open the taskbar we need to swipe from the bottom and hold. The gesture mode works very nicely, I have to say. It is highly recommended. I'll just switch to the light mode in order to show you the notch. We can adjust the notch as well. Just tap on full screen display. Scroll down to the end. Tap on control center and notification shade. Hide notch option is here. So this is the don't hide notch setting. Then we have hide notch without moving status bar. You can see. And lastly we have hide and move status bar. I prefer using the don't hide notch setting. It's up to you. From here we can enable the show connection speed setting. Battery indicator can also be enabled from here. You can see it's showing the numeral battery percentage. This is the DRM information for the device. Here you can see the device supports HDR10, HDR10 Plus and HLG. Supported refresh rates 30, 48, 50, 60, 90 and 120 Hz. The device has wideband L1 support. With this, the device can stream HD videos on digital platforms like Amazon Prime and Netflix. So I'm just playing an HDR video on YouTube. You can see here guys, it is set at 720p resolution HDR. I can actually select the 4K 60 FPS mode HDR. This is just amazing, I have to say. So yeah, HDR is supported by the device. Wow, it looks amazing. Now guys, I'll be measuring the peak and the lowest brightness of Mi 10i. I'll be comparing it with Redmi Note 9 Pro. First I'll be doing a dead pixel test. This is display tester. You can see a completely red background. I'll increase the brightness level to 100%. Here you can clearly observe the phone's bezels. The chin of the device is slightly thicker than the upper bezel. The edges are on the thinner side, so it's not a symmetrical design. The best part is there is barely any IPS glow around the edges. This is a common issue with IPS panels. Let me switch to another color. Green color, 100% brightness. Wow, it's very bright. Again, barely any IPS glow. No dead pixels observed. Blue color. This is why this panel is really very good, I have to say. Yeah, the white color. Now guys, if you carefully observe the notched area, there is no IPS glow, but there is a slight shadow on the upper side. Not a very big issue though. It's generally visible on a completely white background. So it passed the dead pixel test. Now I'll measure its brightness. 100%. Yeah, so the peak brightness is around 360 lux, 361 lux. This is Redmi Note 9 Pro. Brightness set at 100%. So let's just measure the brightness levels. So on Redmi Note 9 Pro, it is around 377 lux. So the peak level is slightly lower than Redmi Note 9 Pro, but it should be more than enough. I was able to read the text on Mi 10i even under direct sunlight. I'll just lower the brightness level to 1% on Mi 10i. Let's just measure this level. Around 4 lux. We'll do the same thing on Redmi Note 9 Pro. 1% brightness. This is around 6 lux. Now I'll measure the audio output of the stereo speakers of Mi 10i. I'll just set the volume to 100%. We'll be measuring the amplitude. So the speakers are definitely loud. The bottom speaker is slightly more loud than the top speaker. At full volume, vocals were decent, but there was some slight distortion in the audio. Overall, the speakers are good and you will be having a decent experience even while watching a movie. Now I'll be comparing the audio amplitude with Redmi Note 9 Pro. I'll play the same song. It only has a bottom firing speaker. Yeah, that was it. On both of the devices, the bottom speaker has roughly the same amplitude. Now guys, I'll be showing you some synthetic benchmark scores. On the left side, I have Mi 10i. On the right side, I have Redmi Note 9 Pro. So first, I'll start with AnTuTu benchmark. The overall score on Mi 10i was around 325,000. On Redmi Note 9 Pro, it was around 254,000. My Redmi Note 9 Pro has Snapdragon 720G processor and 4GB of RAM. It's the 64GB ROM variant. Here you can see the CPU score on Mi 10i was around 112,000. On Redmi Note 9 Pro, it was around 101,000. So this shows that Snapdragon 750G processor is slightly faster than Snapdragon 720G processor. Moving on to the GPU score, on Mi 10i, it was around 77,000. On Redmi Note 9 Pro, it was around 51,000. Now the thing is guys, that Terracotta Vulkan test was not able to complete on Redmi Note 9 Pro out of memory error. Redmi Note 9 Pro lost around 20,000 points due to this test. Otherwise the score on Redmi Note 9 Pro would have been around 71,000. Still Mi 10i would have won. Then for both memory and UX scores, Mi 10i has a considerable lead over Redmi Note 9 Pro. This is expected as I have the 6GB RAM and 128GB ROM variant of Mi 10i. Then we have the Geekbench scores. On Mi 10i, single core score was around 626. On Redmi Note 9 Pro, it was around 550. On Mi 10i, the multi-core score was around 1940. On Redmi Note 9 Pro, it was around 1680. Then we have the Slingshot Extreme OpenGL benchmark test. On Mi 10i, the score was around 2734. On Redmi Note 9 Pro, the score was around 2587. This is the AndroBench storage test for Mi 10i. Sequential read speed was around 937 megabyte per second. And the sequential write speed was around 469 megabyte per second. You can see the other readings here as well. Lastly, I ran the CPU throttling test for 5 minutes on Mi 10i. The performance was very good, no CPU thermal throttling detected. Bear in mind it was the winter season. The average performance was around 184,000 GIPS. The minimum performance was around 166,000 GIPS and the maximum performance was around 188,000 GIPS. This means that the device will be able to sustain high performance for longer duration of gameplays. If the phone throttles a lot, your game's FPS will suddenly drop and you'll notice a lot of stuttering. But in real world gaming, Mi 10i performs roughly similar to Redmi Note 9 Pro that has Snapdragon 720G processor. I have already uploaded the gameplay comparison video between Redmi Note 9 Pro and MI 10i. On Daemon PS2 emulator, MI 10i was getting around 2 to 3 FPS higher. I was able to observe the gains on MI 10i, but they were not considerable when I compared its gaming performance with Snapdragon 845 processor. I noticed that the CPU performance was faster, but the GPU of Snapdragon 750G processor is considerably weaker than the GPU of Snapdragon 845 processor. Snapdragon 750G processor cannot even compete with Snapdragon 855 processor. My OnePlus 7 completely destroyed this device in terms of gaming. So for performance enthusiasts, I don't recommend this device. It is better you go for a device with Snapdragon 855 processor if 5G is not your thing. If you can wait for a few months more, phones with Snapdragon 870 processor will be releasing. A few of them will be priced at under rupees 25,000 or roughly around 350 US dollars. Just wanted to let you know guys that some games that support high refresh rates were not running at 120 FPS on MI 10i. For example, Real Racing 3 runs at an unlocked FPS, but you can see on MI 10i the FPS was locked at 60. I could not change the graphical settings. You can see mobile's refresh rate is set at 120 Hz. Still the game is running at 60 FPS. I tried running Getaway 2. I was able to get this game working at 120 FPS. Needed to set the graphical quality to low. You can see we are getting around 105 FPS, 117 FPS, 120 FPS now. The performance was mostly stable. Now guys, Minecraft supports high refresh rate, but on MI 10i again the FPS was locked at 60. Let me show you the settings. I tried reducing the video settings. Disable beautiful skies, smooth lighting, fancy graphics. Render distance set to only 8 chunks. Yeah, the game has started and you can see we are getting around 60 FPS. So for some reason the high refresh rate games are not running at high refresh rate on MI 10i. I hope Xiaomi addresses this issue. Now guys, moving on to MIUI software. MIUI 12 has been nicely optimized for the device. During day-to-day usage, I barely noticed any stuttering. Scrolling through the interface is very smooth, I have to say. Regarding bloatware, Xiaomi did not preload the device with a lot of apps. A lot of preloaded apps can be easily uninstalled. MIUI also comes with a Play Store alternative, Get Apps. Now you cannot uninstall this app, but you can block its notifications. Now this app is not completely useless. For example, on Play Store, you cannot download Antutu app, but on Get Apps, let's just search for Antutu. You can see, you can download this app from here. Now guys, let's say I want to block the notification for Themes app. All I need to do is press and hold the notification. Now I need to uncheck this option here. Block notification from themes. That's it. Let me show you the notification shade. These are the quick toggles. You can see all of them. You can access the ultra battery saver setting from here as well. From here we can edit the quick toggles. Press and hold to add or rearrange the items. So this is very convenient. Chrome browser is the default browser in MI 10i. MIUI browser is not present in this device. Now regarding ads, I did not see any ads on MI 10i. In case you see any ads, you can disable them in any MIUI specific app. For example, I'll just open the security app. Here's the security app. Now just open the settings, scroll down, and you can see I have unchecked receive recommendations. So if you see an ad in any MIUI app, just disable receive recommendation setting. From here we can do a security scan the device for any viruses. Cleaner app is also provided. It will help us in clearing some space. Deep clean will be useful in finding large size files on your device. From manage apps, you can uninstall the apps that haven't been used lately. Now let me just show you the game turbo mode. From security app you can access it. This is its interface. Adding any application to game turbo mode is very easy. Just tap on the plus icon here. These are the apps that are already added to turbo mode. Let's say I want to add EPSXE emulator. So I'll just enable it. It has been added. Let me show you the settings. Here we can access the performance mode. You can see these are the performance mode settings. Wi-Fi optimization, reduce Wi-Fi network delay, optimize touch controls, increase touch response and sensitivity, enhance audio and reduce ambient noise in conversations. I use my JBL Quantum 300 gaming headset with the device, and I have to say guys, positional audio feature worked very nicely with MI 10i. I was able to make out the direction from where the footsteps were coming in. Lastly, we have the additional settings. Here we can change the settings for specific apps. For example, I'll just open GTA Vice City. You can adjust the touch response, increase or decrease. Sensitivity to repeated taps, increase or decrease. We can create this touch resistant area around the edges. These areas will be resistant to our touch. You can see large, none, small, medium. We can adjust the vibration intensity. Go to settings, sound and vibration. Just scroll down. This is the haptic feedback level. I have maxed it out. Now guys, I was not impressed by the haptic feedback level. It's mostly concentrated around this area. I think they could have done a better job with it. The upper half of the device barely vibrates. Then we have the MIUI screen recorder. It is very useful for recording gameplay videos. Let me show you the settings. You can see resolution has been set to 2400 by 1080. These are the other resolution settings, 720p and 480p. By default, video quality has been set to 16 Mbps. You can set it to 100 Mbps as well. Sound source has been set to mic. We have the option to mute or set it to system sounds. When you'll set it to mic, both the system audio and your voice will be recorded. When you'll set it to system sounds, only the system sound or game sound will be recorded. You can disable the fixed frame rate setting. Your recorded gameplay video will have a variable frame rate. These are the frame rate settings: 15 fps, 24 fps and 30 fps. No 60 fps recording option available. And you can see the other settings here yourself. During gameplay, you can enable the screen recorder via MIUI GameSpeed Turbo Mode interface. Let me just show you that. Just make sure the app has been added to GameSpeed Turbo Mode. For example, I just started Real Racing 3. Now to enable the MIUI GameSpeed Turbo Mode interface, just need to swipe from the edge. There's the interface. You can see the CPU and GPU resource utilization here. FPS counter is also shown. Now to start the screen recording process, just tap on the camera icon here. You can see screen recording has started. So to stop the screen recording, just tap on the red icon here. Here's the recorded gameplay. Coming back to settings, here we can access the privacy protection setting. From here you can check the permissions that you have given to certain apps. You can see 32 apps have permanent access to my phone storage. To deny them the permission, just tap on them and then tap on deny. Then we have the password and security setting. From here you can enable or disable the face unlock feature. It's not very secure. Fingerprint can be added or removed from here as well. Unlock with Bluetooth. Setting the password to unlock your device is also done through here. And you can see the other settings here. Moving on to battery and performance. Now this device has a very good battery life. I've already done its complete battery drain test. The link for the video will be given in the description. I tortured the device with 100% brightness, Bluetooth, GPS, all features were enabled. I played games for around 2.5 hours, and after that I watched YouTube videos for around 2 hours. Even after that there was some battery life remaining. Then I recorded some videos in 4K 30fps mode. I was able to completely drain the battery in about 5 hours 40 minutes. Now in terms of real world usage, the device should be able to last for about 1.5 days based on light to medium usage. From here we can enable the ultra battery saver setting. We can also restrict the battery usage for individual apps. Just tap on app battery saver. From here select the app whose battery usage you want to restrict. For example, I'll just tap on 3D Mark. Recommended setting is battery saver. Identify apps and activities to keep important process going. Battery saver will treat important apps selectively. If you tap on no restriction, battery saver does not restrict apps activity. But if you tap on restrict background activity, apps will be closed to save power. So it's up to you. Now guys, I used the phone's inbox charger to charge the device. I was able to charge the phone from 0 to 100% in only 59 minutes. After just 30 minutes of charging, battery percentage went from 0% to 66%. So that was very impressive. Moving on to the camera section, first I'll introduce the interface. From here we can switch to the ultra wide lens by tapping on the dot to the left side. The extreme right dot is for 2x digital zoom. The middle dot is for the standard photographs. Flash can be enabled or disabled from here. You can just set it to auto mode as well. From here we can enable or disable HDR. I usually keep HDR enabled. AI can be enabled or disabled from here as well. AI helps in recognizing the object. For example, if you're taking a photograph of your pet or a flower, it will recognize the object and enhance the photo based on that object. From here we can access the beautify mode. These are filters. You can see shade is changing. This is the skin smoothener. It's up to you. You can access more settings by tapping on these 3 horizontal lines. Super macro is used to access the macro lens. You can see we switched to the macro lens. Just a 2 megapixel sensor. It lacks autofocus. Using this lens you can take photos of objects that are very near to the lens. In the real world usage, I was finding it a bit difficult to focus on the object properly using this lens. Back to the settings. Now I'll just open the settings here. From here you can enable or disable the watermark. Picture quality has been set to high. You can reduce the quality. It will lower the size of the photographs taken. The 108 megapixel camera lens uses 9-in-1 pixel binning technology to take the photographs. The end resolution of the photograph is 12 megapixel and usually its size is around 12 megabyte. Resolution is 4000 by 3000 pixels. We can assign the functions to the volume buttons. You can see I have set it to shutter countdown. If you are using a memory card, you can just enable this option, save to SD card from here. Then we have the portrait mode. Pretty straightforward here. AI function works for the portrait mode as well. It will detect the objects for you. Beautify settings can be accessed from here. You can see. Moving on to the video section. So this device cannot record videos in 4K 60fps mode. It is limited to 4K 30fps mode. I'll be showing you the photo and video samples, but I'll just let you know this now. The camera lacks OIS. EIS does not work with 4K 30fps video mode. If you want to use the electronic image stabilization, record the videos in Full HD 30 or 60fps mode. Good thing is that you can record the videos even using the ultra wide lens. While recording the videos, you cannot switch to the other lens. The 4K 30fps videos are limited to 8 minutes. So if you want to record videos for longer durations, you need to manually restart the video recording. We can also use the macro lens to record the video. Here you can see. So for the main lens, here you can see maximum video recording limit is 4K 30fps. Let me switch to the ultra wide lens. You cannot record videos in 60fps using the ultra wide lens. The maximum resolution for the recorded video is 1080p and the maximum fps is 30. Let me show you the video settings. Here we can change the encoder. you can switch to H.265. This will help in reducing the size of the recorded videos. Beautify and filter mode is present even for the video recorder, you can see. Then we have the Pro mode. It's pretty straightforward. You can manually tweak the individual settings. You can see white balance, focus, ISO. Even from here we can change the lens. By default wide lens is selected. It's the main lens. You can see ultra wide lens, macro lens. Let me just switch to the 16 megapixel front camera. You can record videos even using this camera. Now for video recording, the resolution is limited to 1080p and FPS is limited to 30. For front camera photography, we have the beautify mode as well. You can see these are the settings. HDR and AI mode is also available. Moving on to the more settings. From here we can access the full 108 megapixel camera lens. You can see 108 megapixel Ultra HD mode is on. The size of the picture taken using this mode will be around 49 megabyte. Its resolution will be around 12,000 by 9,000. Let me show you the slow motion mode. Using this mode you can record a 10-second clip. If you are recording it in full HD resolution, FPS will be limited to 120. If you are recording it in 720p resolution, FPS will be limited to 960. At 1080p resolution, 960 FPS mode is not available. Here we also have this cool feature, dual video. It will use both front camera and the rear camera to record your videos. You can see here. So now I'll be showing you some photo samples. I'll be comparing Mi 10i with ROG Phone 3. ROG Phone 3 has a 64 megapixel Sony IMX686 sensor. On the right side I have Mi 10i and on the left side I have ROG Phone 3. First I'll show you the picture taken using Mi 10i. I took it using the standard mode. I analyzed the photo on my PC. The colors were mostly on the accurate side. Dynamic range was decent. This area was a bit dark, but it was highlighted very nicely in the end photograph. Sharpness was immediately noticeable. The leaves of even the background tree was captured, but upon zooming in further, an oil painting effect takes place. Under daylight conditions, you will be mostly getting a color accurate and a very sharp image. This is the photo taken using ROG Phone 3. Let me just show you the difference in detail. Upon zooming in, you can see the image is much more sharp on Mi 10i. This is the picture taken using ROG Phone 3 and the device is Mi 10i. Display can cause the colors to look different. Here you can see upon zooming in, the background tree looks a bit fuzzy. And on this side, the details are completely lost. Back to Mi 10i, you can see upon zooming in, even on this side, some details are preserved. The image does not become completely fuzzy. Overall, the picture taken using Mi 10i came out to be better. Then I used the 8 megapixel ultra wide lens. I was expecting a drop in quality, but the end photo came out to be decent. Now upon zooming in, I can notice a drop in quality. So if you want to crop the images, it's better you use the main sensor instead of the ultra wide sensor. The dynamic range was pretty average. This was the dark area. A lot of details were completely lost. Same thing here. Let me compare it with the photo taken using the main sensor. You can see the difference in dynamic range here. Still for an 8 megapixel sensor, the overall image was decent. This is the picture that I took using the full 108 megapixel Ultra HD mode. Let me show you the details. The size was around 50 megabyte and you can see the resolution here. Now the thing is guys, I did not notice any big improvement in the image quality when using this mode. Its best usage is when you need to crop the image. You can see I can zoom in further. You can see the details on these leaves are not lost. So this is the best usage for this mode. You won't notice any improvement in color or let's say dynamic range. You can see. But even zooming in using this mode has its limits. you can see here the details are lost. The same thing happened with the standard 12 megapixel mode. Basically, to get a decent cropped image out of the main photograph, you can use double tap zoom twice. Let me show you that. Double tap once, double tap again to switch to 108 megapixel preview. Double tap again. This is the limit, guys. If you try to zoom in further, then you'll notice a drop in quality. Then I use the night mode. On right side I have Mi10i, on the left side I have ROG Phone 3. The overall picture came out to be better on ROG Phone 3. To be honest, both of the devices struggle to take a proper photograph. First I have Mi10i. You can see the light source was not captured properly. Upon zooming in, we can see here barely any details were captured. And this is the photograph taken using ROG Phone 3. Here more details are visible. Nothing. This is a photo taken using the main lens, standard mode under artificial lighting condition. Details were nicely captured, but upon zooming in, I was able to see some noise in the background. Colors were mostly accurate. This is a picture taken using the portrait mode. It was able to focus the subject, but some strands of hair were blurred out. You can see here. Moving on to the front camera, it was not very impressive. With a bright background, it was not able to render the colors properly. My face came out to be very dark. But with proper lighting conditions, it was able to capture a lot of details, I have to say. This is the portrait mode. It did a decent job of blurring the background. Now this is the picture that I took using the 2 megapixel macro sensor. You can see not very detailed, but we are able to read the text. Now if I take the same picture using the main sensor, you can see barely any text is readable. So guys, now I'll be showing you some video samples. Let me give you some details about their data and audio rate. For 4K 30fps video, the data rate was around 42,000 kbps. Audio was recorded in stereo mode. Bitrate was around 96 kbps. For Full HD 60fps video, the data rate was around 20,000 kbps and the audio bitrate was around 96 kbps. In the recorded videos, the colors were mostly lively, but I had one issue with the recorded videos. Sometimes I use the device to record my mobile gameplay videos under artificial lighting conditions. At that time, the camera struggles to properly focus small bright text. I have to manually focus on the small text. For example, the FPS counter of MIUI GameSpeed Turbo Mode. I hope they improve the photography and the videography via later updates. So guys, I am recording this video using the rear camera of Mi10i. Video is being recorded in Full HD 60fps quality, just walking around the house. I'll be shaking the phone to check out the stability. It has EIS. Now I'm holding the phone still. Now I'll be shaking it. EIS is definitely working at this resolution and FPS. Audio is being recorded using the mic of Mi10i, so you can check out the quality. So guys, I'm recording this video using the front camera of Mi10i. The video is being recorded in Full HD 30fps quality. I'm just walking around my house. You can check out the camera stability. Bright background. It's having some difficulties in properly highlighting the colors. So guys, I'm recording this video using the rear camera of Mi10i. Video is being recorded in 4K 30fps quality. I'm just walking around the house. You can check out the stability. Audio is being recorded using the mic of Mi10i. Now I'll be shaking the phone. Now I'm holding it still. In the end guys, I'll say that this device is a very well balanced device. but at this moment it is very difficult to recommend it. Redmi Note 10 series is upon us and there is a very high chance that this phone will be rebranded as one of Redmi Note 10 phones. Redmi phones usually have ads and they sell at a lower price point as compared to their MI counterparts. If you are a performance enthusiast, Snapdragon 750G processor is not recommended for you. Phones with Snapdragon 870 processor will show up. They won't be considerably expensive than this device. Snapdragon 870 processor is basically an overclocked Snapdragon 865 plus processor. So for performance enthusiasts, those devices are recommended. So guys, I'll end the review video here. I hope you found it useful. Thanks for watching and have a nice day. Moving on to the